we create the sample? And no, this is not hard either. It's very easy to do. You can use 3 ways to create the sample: simple random sample, stratified random sample, and cluster sample. And there are several statistical sampling methods you can use. We'll just concentrate on the 3. So what does simple random sampling mean? SRS means that each subject is equally likely to be chosen. So it's random. It's very random. And it's something like raffles or drawing from a hat or the lottery. Everyone has an equal chance. Subject choice, however, is determined by random numbers. That's the first, simple random sample. The second, stratified random sample. The population is divided into mutually exclusive. Now I'm going to stop here at mutually exclusive, and I'm going to explain what that means. Mutually exclusive means that, for example, 2 circles do not overlap. There are 2 circles that are separated and have no overlapping and have no relation, well, not no relationship, but they simply do not overlap. One is mutually exclusive to the other, and the other is mutually exclusive to the first. So the population is divided into mutually exclusive groups called strata. And you might want to circle strata here because that's an important term each time you're referring to stratified random sample. An example is age, gender, home type, etc. So I took a piece of the population, and within one of the strata, we have 4 here in the population, and I simplified it. Obviously there's going to be a lot of strata within a population, but I just decided on 4, just for explaining the point. Within strata, the sampling is random. This is key here, you have to underline it. The sampling is random. So the previous random sampling, which was the first one that we talked about, is then used within one strata. So the pros are, it assures the sampling has the same structure as the population, which is good. The next one is the cluster sampling. The population is divided into groups called clusters, and each cluster has the same characteristics as the population. We use simple random sampling again to select only a few clusters. We then use either simple random or stratified sampling within each cluster. So what does that mean, and what's the difference between cluster and stratified random sampling? Well, we mentioned in stratified they have to be mutually exclusive, and here we can only pick a small amount of the population, and we use them as cluster. The clusters can be chosen by random sampling, whereas in stratified random sampling we pick out which groups, and as well as we then use either simple random or stratified sampling within each cluster. So that's a similarity, and that's really all it is. That's how we create the sample. An example of cluster sampling, however, is geographical regions, classrooms in a school, and each cluster ideally has the same characteristics as the population. We use a simple random sampling to select only a few clusters, when we either then use simple random or stratified sampling within each cluster. And I decided to repeat that because it's very helpful to repeat information. And that's all it really is. And sampling errors. Now we're going to talk about sampling errors and non-sampling errors. And these are going to be the last 2 points before we end off the video. A sampling error refers to the difference between the sample statistics and the population parameter. So the difference between the 2. And what this means is, okay, so all the ramen in Japan are amazing according to my data. However, I found out, or someone else finds out, actually the difference is huge, and there are some ramen shops that are horrible. So the difference between sampling statistics and the population parameter, for example, if I give 51 of students work, when in fact only 50.42 work. So that's an error. So what's a non-sampling error? A non-sampling error refers to the error in data acquisition, inaccuracies and mistakes, and less than truthful responses in a survey. So people who kind of fib on the survey. And a non-response bias, there's two here. There's non-response bias and there's a selection bias that fall under non-sampling errors. The first, non-response bias, are people with only a certain agenda respond to the survey. So if I send the survey through email, and only people who don't have work or not busy with their lives reply to the email. And the selection bias is they're just sampling problems. And that's all it is for chapter 1. Hope you enjoyed the video.